Welcome everyone. I'm glad that you're listening to my Christmas message for 2014. The last couple of years I've sent my kids, who are all adults, a Christmas message. This is last year's message. Hope you all had a great day today. Wish I could have been there with you. Have spent most of the day working on the Climate Warrior project. To be honest, I feel the greatest thing I can do for you is save the planet. So no, if the world is not destroyed by climate change, it was only because your dad loved you and so decided to save it. Merry Christmas, love, Dad. At that time, only a year ago, I was just starting to get involved with action on climate change. I decided to create Climate Warrior to get the martial arts community active on this issue. I was determined to make a difference. There is no doubt that I followed through on my commitment to my kids and worked tirelessly towards stopping a climate catastrophe. However, my goal was not just to work tirelessly towards stopping a catastrophe, it was to actually stop it. To do this, I had a vision of getting martial artists all over the world to come together, see the reality of the crisis we are facing, and become part of a movement working together towards preventing it. Yes, I have created awareness within the martial arts community, and I've got quite a few instructors who've now come to see the reality of the climate crisis that we are facing. However, action and getting people to take action has been another thing. It was also around this time that I come to realise that we are failing and I couldn't see a solution. Time is running out. It's now too late to avoid a climate catastrophe. As much as I look for answers, I don't find one. I'm often taken back to the words of Professor Leslie Hughes on Heron Island.
Climate scientists that I know, and I don't, even though I often get introduced as a climate scientist, I like to talk about myself as a climate change scientist because I'm actually an ecologist rather than climatologist. But I know a lot of climate scientists, and virtually none of them think we'll keep to 2 degrees. So 4 degrees. The World Bank put out a report last year, the year before, on a 4-degree world and what that means. And I think 4 degrees by the second half of this century is a much more likely prospect than 2 degrees. It would be great if we could.
That is a climate catastrophe. Much of what we love is going to go. The coral reefs, the Arctic ice sheet are just a couple of ecosystems that it is now too late to save. It is sad that we can no longer avoid a climate catastrophe and that much of what we love in the natural world is going to be lost. It has taken me quite some effort to come to terms with that. But more than that, to find the strength and the path forward from this point. As we must move forward, we cannot surrender, we must fight to save all we can. Looking at our carbon budget, it's run out. We would have to stop emissions right now to have a 90% chance of avoiding 2 degrees of warming. So my Christmas message this year is about the path forward. Over the last few thousand years, mankind has risen above all other species on Earth to dominate the Earth and shape it to fit our will. Now we find ourselves in a calamity. The habitat we need is near collapse. Greenhouse gases are rising, global temperatures are rising, and we are seeing the planet begin to rapidly change. If we allow this to continue, if we follow the business as usual path, at some point there will be runaway climate change, which will cause the extinction of most life on Earth, possibly including that of mankind. We do, however, have the solutions. Renewable energy is getting cheaper all the time. Solar, wind, geothermal, and a host of other innovative technologies are available that can completely power our world. We do not have to give up anything, we just have to change. A world powered by renewable energy also gives us all cheaper power and produces no pollution. Electric cars and battery storage are becoming cheaper and more practical. Already efficiency is rising and prices are falling. The more these technologies are adopted, the greater the rate of innovation and improvement will become. Both the problem and the ultimate solution are very clear, so what is stopping us? The political process has failed us. At the latest UN climate negotiations in Lima, it became clear there is little chance of a strong binding agreement on climate change coming out of Paris next year, which was our goal. So after 20 years working on the problem, the UN seems to have failed. We are still no closer to a solution that prevents a climate catastrophe. In the USA, Canada and Australia, there is political opposition and debate that is limiting and hindering action. In developing nations, governments are working to help their populations come out of poverty. They aspire to live lives like those in the developed world, but lives that consume more resources and produce more emissions. The fossil fuel industry is subsidised by governments. It funds lobbyists and donates to politicians. It is buying inaction. It makes trillions of dollars and is protecting this by doing all it can to stop action on climate change. It continues to invest in exploration for new fossil fuel reserves, despite the fact that we can only burn 25% of the existing ones if we're going to aim to 2 degrees of warming or less. We still have emissions rising. Even now this year, emissions are rising at a rate of 2% per year. A lot of people have money invested based on valuations that involve consuming all these fossil fuels at some point. People with these investments want to protect them. People also do business with banks who invest their money and save for their retirement in superannuation funds who also invest money in fossil fuels. All of us, our society, is funding the problem. So how do we tackle this? There are 2 distinct things we must do: address the problem and adapt to the damage that we cannot avoid. We must make this the battle it deserves to be. We must start to fight like our very lives and that of our children depend on it, because they do. We must declare war on fossil fuels. We must declare war on those who support them. We must declare war on those who would deny the problem. We must be prepared to fight. The first step in the fight is to use our power. Divest. Take your money out of any bank, superannuation fund, or any other investment that supports the fossil fuel industry. We must remove their source of funds. We must take away their social licence. We must oppose any new fossil fuel exploration or development. Those who are preventing action on climate change must be vilified for the crime they are committing against humanity. Invest. Put your money into renewable energy. Buy a solar system, an electric car, stocks in renewable energy companies. Buy your power from a company that uses renewable energy. Do what you can to reduce your personal carbon footprint. Support businesses and people who are moving away from fossil fuels. Ask the question, how does this impact the environment? Can it be done better? The more we do to drive the green economy, the greater the investment and innovation will be. Stand up and be heard. We must make politicians and the wider community aware that this is an issue we demand action on. Support those who are acting for the environment. Punish those who are not. Businesses, politicians, individuals, it does not matter. They are either fighting for a sustainable future or they are part of the business as usual system, destroying it for all of us. It is now time to draw a line. You are friend or foe. Billions will lose their lives. It matters what you do. The habitat we need is now collapsing. If you're not actively working to preserve it, you are destroying it. Prepare for an uncertain future. Governments will fail. Society is going to be stressed like it has never been before. Syria is an example of the impact of climate change can have. IS capitalised on unrest resulting from a severe drought and people rising up when their government could no longer support their needs. Failing states, desperate people and extremists will not end in Syria. This is just the start. As a martial artist, I've spent my life working to be the strongest person I can be so I can protect and look after those I love. Prepare your children for a world where they may have to stand up for themselves. A world where there are desperate people, angry people, and no one to protect them. This may not be the future we want for them, but it is the future we must prepare them for. A final word of warning. We must act quickly. We are out of time. It could be as early as 2020 we see an ice-free Arctic in summer. This is a scary prospect as ice reflects sun and this is going to accelerate warming in the Arctic. The Arctic contains huge stores of methane and we are already seeing signs of these starting to be released. Further warming could accelerate this release and push us into runaway climate change. What will mankind do then? What will we do? What will we be prepared to do if it becomes absolutely clear beyond any doubt that failing to immediately stop carbon emissions is going to condemn most of life on Earth to extinction in a very short period of time. When our children's lives are on the line, we will do absolutely anything to protect them. Don't think that this will be any different. Again, be prepared. You may not know what you need to be prepared for, but no, it's not going to be pretty. We have crossed a line where we can no longer avoid it getting ugly. This is not about money. This is about lives. This is about the future of mankind. There will be no economy, no successful businesses, no beautiful seaside home with a big car in the driveway in a climate catastrophe. Pursuing your own interests at the expense of the environment we all need is ultimately going to destroy everything you love. So my Christmas message this year, not only to my children, but to everyone, is very simple. A year ago, I set out to save us all from a climate catastrophe. After a year committed to this above all else, I now know I can't. You must now stand beside me and fight with me. If we want to make it through the coming climate catastrophe, we must stand and fight together. This fight needs everyone. You must fight for the future you deserve, your children deserve. You must do whatever is needed to save the habitat we all need. Prepare for difficult times ahead. Many people will not make it through the coming climate catastrophe. This will not be easy. Be strong. Sincerely, a warrior prepared to lay his life down for those he loves. Thank you.